You keep telling yourself you are going to change. Tomorrow you will wake up earlier. Next week you will finally set that boundary. This year you will leave the job, start the project, stop repeating the same patterns in love. You mean it when you say it. But when the moment comes, something inside you freezes, resists, or quietly pulls you back. It starts to feel like changing your life is almost impossible. On the surface, it might look like laziness, lack of discipline, or not wanting it enough. That is the story many of us tell ourselves. But underneath, there is usually something very different happening. Your brain, your nervous system, and your old survival strategies are not designed for thriving first. They are designed for safety first. And to your system, even a painful present can feel safer than an unknown future. Change is not just about adding something new. It is about leaving something old behind. A job, a relationship, a habit, a way of seeing yourself. Even if that old thing is hurting you, it is familiar. Your nervous system knows how to survive it. It knows the rules, the patterns, the emotional weather. Change asks you to step into a space where you do not know the rules yet. And to your brain, that feels risky. This is why you can feel a strange grief or anxiety when good possibilities appear. A healthier relationship, a kinder routine, a chance to move somewhere new. On the outside, it is everything you said you wanted. On the inside, your system is calculating. If we do this, we lose control. We lose what we know. We might be hurt in a new way we cannot predict. So it throws up resistance, doubt, numbness, distraction. There is also the weight of your story. If you have spent many years seeing yourself as the one who never finishes, who always messes up, who is just like this, changing becomes more than a practical shift. It becomes a threat to your identity. Who are you if you are not the one who settles, who rescues others, who stays small, who stays in chaos? Part of you might cling to the old role, even if you consciously hate it. Trauma makes this even more intense. If you grew up in unpredictable or unsafe environments, your nervous system may now be wired to expect danger. Calm and stability can actually feel uncomfortable, even wrong. So when you try to create a calmer life, your body might react with restlessness, boredom, or panic. It is not that you truly hate peace. It is that your system associates no chaos with waiting for the next blow. There is another piece, shame. If you have tried to change before and failed, you may carry a quiet pile of shame inside you. All the unfinished plans, broken promises to yourself, abandoned goals. Each attempt that did not work becomes another piece of evidence for the belief, I cannot change. So when a new opportunity comes, you do not meet it with curiosity. You meet it with exhaustion and self-doubt. Your brain also tends to think in extremes. All or nothing. If you cannot change everything at once, it feels pointless to change anything. If I cannot become a completely different person, why bother? But real change is almost never a dramatic overnight transformation. It is a series of small, often boring, often invisible choices that gradually rewire your expectations and your sense of what is possible. On top of this, there is the comfort of your existing coping mechanisms. Maybe you use overworking, scrolling, people-pleasing, food, substances, fantasies, or perfectionism to soothe yourself. Those patterns might be hurting you in the long term, but they helped you survive something. Letting them go without replacing them with new forms of support feels like walking into a storm without a jacket. Of course, your system resists. Sometimes, changing your life also means risking relationships. If you start saying no, some people will not like it. If you grow, some connections will not come with you. If you leave the role of caretaker, some people might call you selfish. Your nervous system knows that belonging is survival. So it quietly asks, if I change, will I still be loved? Will I still belong? If it does not feel sure, it will slow you down. So if change feels impossible, it is not because you are weak or broken. It is because many parts of you are not convinced that change is safe. They do not care if it sounds inspiring or logical. They care if it feels survivable. To them, better the devil you know is not a cliche. It is a strategy. What do you do with this? The first step is to stop calling yourself lazy or hopeless. Those labels add another layer of shame on top of fear. Instead, you can get curious. When you think about a change you say you want, notice what happens in your body. Tightness in your chest? Not in your stomach? A rush of tiredness? These are not random. They are your nervous system saying, slow down. This feels big. Try naming what that part of you is afraid of. If I leave this relationship, I am afraid of being alone forever. If I change careers, I am afraid of failing publicly. If I start setting boundaries, I am afraid people will be angry and abandon me. When you name the fear clearly, it becomes something you can work with, instead of an invisible wall you keep running into. The next step is to shrink the size of change. Your brain loves dramatic visions, but your nervous system trusts small, repeatable actions. Instead of, I will change my whole life this year, you can ask, what is one tiny behavior that, if repeated, would gently move me in the direction I want? Maybe it is 10 minutes a day on that project, one honest conversation, one boundary, one moment of rest you do not apologize for. Your system learns through experience, not inspiration. Every time you take a small step and survive the discomfort, your nervous system gets evidence. We can do a bit of change and not die. We can try something new and still be safe. Over time, this evidence starts to compete with the old belief that change equals danger. The goal is not to erase fear, but to make room for fear and action to coexist. It can also help to expect resistance and plan for it with kindness. Instead of imagining a perfectly motivated future self, assume that future you will be tired, scared, doubtful at times. How can you design your environment so that even a low-energy, anxious version of you can still take a small step? Maybe it is simplifying your choices, asking for accountability, reducing friction, or removing some temptations. Supportive relationships matter here too. Change is much harder when you try to do all of it alone, inside your own head, while fighting your own shame. Sharing your intentions with someone safe, getting professional help, or finding a community that reflects back your potential can soften the process. Your nervous system relaxes when it does not feel solely responsible for everything. Another powerful practice is to separate the survival self from the growth self. The survival self is the part that just wants to get through the day with the least pain. The growth self is the part of you that longs for more. Both are real. Both deserve compassion. When you feel stuck, instead of saying, I am sabotaging myself, you can say, my survival self is very loud today. Then gently ask, how can I support you so that growth can have a little space too? Sometimes, change feels impossible because you are aiming at the wrong layer. You try to change behavior without addressing the beliefs underneath. If a quiet part of you believes, I am not worthy of a better life, people like me do not get to have that, or good things always disappear, your actions will keep bouncing off that wall. Working on those beliefs, through therapy, journaling, or gentle self-inquiry, is not separate from change. It is part of it. And remember that stability is also a form of change. For someone who only knew chaos, creating a life that is just okay and not constantly dramatic is a huge transformation. It may not look impressive from the outside, but your nervous system feels the difference. You do not need a cinematic reinvention to honor that you are shifting patterns that have been in place for years, maybe generations. Over time, as you take small steps, face manageable fears, and allow yourself support, something subtle begins to shift. Change does not suddenly become easy, but it stops feeling completely impossible. You start to notice moments where you choose differently, where you pause before repeating an old pattern, where you let a new possibility stay in your life, even when you want to run. If changing your life has felt impossible, it is not a verdict on your future. It is a reflection of how hard your system has worked to keep you safe with the tools it had. You can honor that effort and still choose new tools. Fear can ride in the car with you. It just does not have to keep driving. Subscribe for more on trauma, the nervous system, change, and healing. Like if this helped you understand your resistance with more compassion. Share it with someone who keeps saying, I want to change, but secretly believes they never will.